right, Shalom. This is Har One by Yasha Allah of the Lions Den Camp. I want to say Kal Halayim, La Yahweh, by Hashem Havashai, by Hashem Harakak Wadash, my mouth. Double honor to the elder apostles of GMS and the elders. Shalom to you, Akim, and Akwatim and children that believe in sincerity and truth around the four corners of the earth. I'll let y'all listen in to this lady here. She talk real soft, so you got to kind of listen. She's going into the increased food riots, food rations, Cbdc riots, and ultimately famine. All right, so I'm gonna play the clip. I want to bring out a couple scriptures that are on my spirit. All right, check it out.
Going on. Some of these articles are really like far out. Okay, let me back up one more. Prepare for grocery police state. This is not a joke. This is not futuristic, something that's maybe coming in 5 years. This is going to be coming in 2023 and beyond. Today, analysis covers threat to food security in 2023 and beyond, beginning with the now obvious fact that food inflation continues to worsen almost everywhere. This readily observable fact is now so self-evident that no one needs to be convinced of the reality of rising food prices, yet few people have honestly considered where it leads in terms of global famine, civil unrest, revolutions, and more. 2023 and for years to come, we are about to see some of the disturbing signs of food scarcity and panic among populations as well as food retailers. Armed guards at food retailers defending against sharp increases in organized retail theft of meat products, access restrictions, and biometric ID requirements of who is allowed to enter grocery stores and purchase food items. Food rationing enforced by digital currency controls that closely monitor your food purchases, meaning that the more that they have for this digital currency, the more they're going to be able to control us. Food riots across many cities and countries as fear and famine take hold. More food destruction due to sabotage of food facilities, transportation, infrastructure, ramped up geoengineering efforts to destroy crops through man-made droughts, floods, and storms. In America, food will become more expensive and scarce, but the shelves won't be empty just yet. I'm going to stop right there. This article will be linked down in the description box, and let's elaborate on that just a moment. Okay, so I have been hearing this a lot lately, that there is going to be food on the shelves, okay? But again, the food is going to be so expensive that the average person is not going to be able to afford it. Maybe examples like a loaf of bread is going to be like $10, $11, $12, $13. Butter, $20. This is not a joke, okay?
I'm going to stop there real quick and get a scripture. Because that's prophecy, man. All right. She said a loaf of bread gonna be so expensive, and that's scripture. That's Revelation 6, the black horse. That's what time we're coming into. All right. Ultimately, the black horse represents famine. You know, and loss, because you know you can also tie it to slavery when we went into slavery, but this is their second chance at trying to put us in slavery. Right, that first yoke that they had upon us, shackles that they put upon us in chains and slavery. They want to do that again, but with this Cbdc. All right, so they put a digital yoke. Revelation, and they put the yoke of iron with the birth certificate. All right, fractional reserve currency. Everybody in America got a birth certificate. So, making us debt slaves, indentured servants. Revelation 6 and 5. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, "Come and see." And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, man. All right. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And that balances goes into that yoke. You know, it's in Esau's hands. Let me get that real quick. This is Micah chapter 2, verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity. And that's what Esau do. They devise iniquity through their secret societies. And they came up with this plan for a new world order. And they're pushing for it. So all this is happening because it's man-made. It's the Most High's will. But he's using man to do it. And Esau is the one that's destroying the earth, using weather weapons to destroy the crops and stuff like that. That's what she was saying. You know, and going to cause causing trade to slow up, in the GDP, the gross domestic product, to slow up the economy. All right, and the what's that, food scarcity. Micah chapter 2 verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity or wickedness and work evil upon their beds, man. And that's what Esau does. When the morning is light, they practice it. See? Because it is in the power of their hand. See, it's in the power of their hand. The earth, Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So it's in their hands, the yoke. All right, that they're trying to put on people. And they covet fields, right? They take people's lands and take them by violence, and houses and take them away, right? Even now, if you try to go get a foreclosed house through the bank, in the old days, you used to be able to just give them a certain amount of silver, 12 shekels of silver, I think it was, and you could just take the house. But now, if you take it, they call it squatting, and the feds will show up and lock you up for that. Federal Reserve, see that? That's owned by the Rothschilds. And they take them away, so they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage, man. They did that with the Native Americans and with Jake. So it's in the power of their hand, right? All right. Let's get that. Revelation 6 and 5 again. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, "Come and see." And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. That's Esau. All right? Or Lucifer, which would be the elites. And I heard a voice and they had a yoke. Balances, it's plural. So the first balance was with slavery, and then the second balance is with this digital yoke that they're trying to put upon people, switching everybody's straw man, which is a government form of each individual that they made on paper in all capital letters. They call it a person. They want to take that person and put that inside the literal human being. All right, because right now, all the debt that America has accumulated, it goes towards that person, not towards you, the human. But once they, as a lot of have already done, connected to this system through digital means and technology, now people like Tazariak, IUIC, right? Now they own them. The corporations are the new government. All right. So now let's keep going. Verse 6. Whoever gets that MOTB, they'll be owned. And it says, so that's a pair of balances. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, and that voice in the midst is Yahweh. All right. Where is it at? All right, I'm not going to get it. If you want to read it, who's in the midst of the throne, just read chapter 4 and chapter 5 of Revelations, all right? So Yahweh and Yahweh Shai are in the midst of the throne. So that's where the voice came from. All right, Revelation 6 and 5. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, "Come and see." All right, come and see. The third angel said, "Come and see." And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts. All right, and that voice in the midst of the four beasts is Yahweh. All right. Revelation 4, real quick. And after this, I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven, and the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, "Come up hither." So they let you know those beasts are angels. "And I will show thee things which must be hereafter." So it's showing them the prophecies. That's the seals, the judgments. And I immediately was in the spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven. That's the throne. And one sat on the throne. That's Yahweh. And he was to look upon like jasper and a sardine stone, and there was a rainbow round about him. All right. So basically, if you read this whole chapter, it tells you that Yahweh is in the midst of the throne. All right. And the four angels, as it breaks down the rest of this chapter, they're all around him. Okay, what it calls them beasts, four beasts, which means creatures or creations, living creatures, but they're not human, but they look like us. All right, so let me get back to the point. So that's the voice, meaning casting judgment. He was giving judgment out in the heavens. It says, "And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny." And the word penny goes back to a drachma, which was a day's wages, I think in the Greek Empire or the Roman Empire. It was a full day's wages. So today, a person's daily wage would be from anywhere from, depending on the type of work somebody's into, from $50 to $100, all the way up to $1,000. Some people make $1,000 a day, $800 a day. You know, they got all kind of businesses out here. So a day's wages, you know, for minimum wage or whatever, bread gonna go up to at least like $500 or $100 for one loaf of bread. That's just like the Weimar Republic. All right, that food scarcity and hyperinflation, meaning the dollar's gonna lose value. And they're going to try this new wave they're going to go into called food scarcity. Meaning we're running out of food, so-called, and they're going to have it enforced now. That's why you're seeing this whole digital setup at the entry of the stores, where they're telling you got to have a QR code now. It goes into the side, you know. But people are going to get the stigma, which means into their body. So at the doors of these grocery stores, they're setting it up to be digital. Kind of like a turnstile at a train station, where you gotta pay before you get on. So at these grocery stores, which are going to be the new enforcers, they're setting the corporations up to be the enforcers of their agenda. Because through the government, people got too many rights. But with the corporations, they have privacy where they can set their own rules for you to come in their store. All right. So a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. All right. So basically, bread is going to be expensive to get. One loaf of bread going to cost you about a day worth of work. You know. So And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. All right. So the Lord going to preserve his elect. So that's what time we in, where she said the bread is going to be so expensive and people going to be going crazy. It's going to bring riots in the midst of that CBDC. See that? When they pushing the digital currency on everybody. All right. Let me see something.
This is something that's going to be coming to us. This is why we keep telling everybody to prepare, prepare, prepare. Buy your food now. Buy it, because this food is never going to be any cheaper than what it is today. Okay? I can't stress this enough. Nothing's going to be cheaper than what it currently is today. The dollar is being devalued. When the dollar is devalued, that means it takes more dollars to buy the same loaf of bread that it took 5, 6, 7, 8 months ago and up to a year ago. Okay? This is not a joke. Let's continue. In America, okay, so in 2023, the United States will experience significant food inflation as well as intermittent scarcity, but shelves won't go bare on a large scale. Europe, however, will see food scarcity on a far worse scale.
Right. This goes into 2nd Ezra chapter 16. All right. It's talking about cheap food prices. Check this out. 2nd Ezra 16 and 17. Woe is me, woe is me. Who will deliver me in those days? Right. Ezra saw a vision that he was going to be here. Ezra is walking around here right now on the earth. Reincarnated. Verse 18. The beginning of sorrow. So this is the beginning of it. That's why everybody keeps saying shit hit the fan. Something big is coming. Because this is the beginning of the sorrows of hell, all hell breaking loose. And great mournings, man. All right, mournings, a lot of suffering about to happen. The beginning of famine. So the beginning of it. And it's going to get worse once we're in the midst of the famine. All right? And great death. So it's going to be a lot of death from the sicknesses, diseases, and the lack of food, the riots. People, neighbors invading each other. Little civil wars going on. The beginning of famine and great death. The beginning of wars. See, that's when the war is going to kick off. All right? The world wars and the race wars. And the powers shall stand in fear. The governments and the corporations, they're going to be shook at all the turmoil that's breaking out. All these politicians and the police, they shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils was that weather atrocities, disease, warfare, murder. It says, what shall I do when these evils shall come? Nobody, what the hell are you going to do to make it out of that? Scripture says it's going to be as if somebody ran from a bear and then they run into a lion. But they try to lean their hand on the wall looking for rest and a snake bite them. Meaning there's not going to be anywhere to relax. All right. Behold, famine and plagues, man. Tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendments, man. Just like the Lord sent during the time of Ezekiel, he sent 4 levels of judgment. Just like now, he's sending it again. Famine, plague, tribulation, and anguish are sent as scourges for correction. But for all these, they shall not turn from their wickedness 2/3. They're going to keep going. Nor be always mindful of the scourges. So in the midst of that, they're going to get worse and worse. And they're going to go down to Egypt for help. Ultimately leading them to Revelation 13, the MOTB, and their concentration camps. All right, so they're not going to be mindful of the scourges 2/3. They just can't get it. Just like right now, they can't get it. They can't understand. Behold, victuals, that means food and rations, shall be so good cheap upon earth, just like right now, In the midst of hyperinflation and dollar devaluation, the prices are real cheap. Just like Walmart has that saying, everyday low prices. That's going to change. I haven't heard them pushing that mantra lately. For many of them that, behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case. Isn't that true right now? People think themselves in good case, but they don't understand that every day that the dollar is losing value, the prices are going up at the stores. And as the prices go up and the dollar loses value, and America loses its contracts with trade imports, the price is going to go up at the shelves, and there's going to be a lack of food, which means another order out of KO. Esau can control through that. All right. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon earth. Sword, see, World War III, destruction, martial law, civil wars, race wars, robberies, just murder, famine, all right, through hyperinflation, through lack of food, through choke points where governments won't let people get the food, and great confusion in the land of confusion, Babylon. There's going to be confusion all over the earth, though. You heard she said Europe, and the Lord said it's going to be happening upon earth, all right, not just in America. For many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of the famine. So it's going to be bad, man. There's going to be such a bad famine out here that many upon the earth going to die of that. Worse than what they just did. And the other that escaped the hunger shall the sword destroy. So once the famine is over, and some have made it through that, that's why the Lord says the righteous shall scarcely be saved, and we should fear. And he said, what? The others that escaped that time of the famine that's coming, the sword shall destroy them, meaning martial law and the race war, whatever reason, civil war. And the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them. Ain't gonna be no coroners showing up to get the bodies, or funeral homes, or ambulance. For the earth shall be wasted, and the cities shall be cast down. That's how bad it's gonna be, man. There shall be no man to till the earth and to sow it. There ain't gonna be no contractors out working in the morning. So it's gonna be like wild here, like that Will Smith movie. The trees shall give fruit, and who shall gather them? The grapes shall ripen, and who shall tread them? For all places shall be desolate of men, so that one man shall desire to see another and to hear his voice. Ain't gonna be no all over the internet. That ain't gonna happen. For of a city there shall be 10 left, and two of the field, which shall hide themselves in the thick groves and in the clefts of the rock. They're gonna go into their bunkers. They're gonna hide in the mountains. They're gonna hide in the bushes, what you call off grid. But the Lord said it's gonna be so bad. The ones that's in the mountain, He's gonna have to eating and drinking their own blood. All right, so that's right. Verse 33: the virgins shall mourn, meaning the young women shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. All right, the women represent the wives, the servants of the men. They're gonna have no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. It's deep. In the wars, no fathers, right? In the wars shall their bridegroom be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of the famine. Most High gonna make this happen. All right, and it says what? Behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack. See that? They're getting close. It's happening. And the Lord ain't holding it back. It's building up. As when a woman with child in 9 months, in the 9th month, bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb. The great pains represent the famines. Which pains, when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. Nowhere to run to. O my people, hear my words. Say the Lord is talking to us. Make you ready to the battle. How we do that? We put on the whole armor of the Lord. All right, and the hope of salvation, and and of truth. And the breastplate of righteousness. So that's how we make ourselves ready to the battle. And in those days, because it's going to be a spiritual battle, and in those days, be even as pilgrims upon the earth, man. Be willing to move around. And don't be a part of these people. Act like you just landed here. You're like, what the hell going on? You gotta be like that. You gotta know what's going on, but you gotta know that you're not a part of these people. All right. So let's go ahead and get it. All right. She spoke even about the weather atrocities that they're using, the HAARP, HAARP weapons that they're using to manipulate the Earth's weather. All right, and also trying to manipulate space weather with the sun that controls the weather on the Earth, which we'll call chemtrails, and the heating up of certain areas and cooling down of certain areas with the pressure, causing famines, water droughts. Ephesians 2:1, and you have he quickened, who were dead in trespasses and sins. So quicken means to make alive. So the Lord has brought us to life in his truth, which separates us from the dead. Where in times past ye walked according to the course of this world. And by walking according to the course of this world, you'll be walking according to the mind of the people that's ruling in these times, and which is Esau. It says, according to the prince of the power of the air. That's the one that's ruling the weather, controlling the airwaves, media, weather weapons. All right, the prince of the power of the air, that's Esau. The spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. It's deep, right? All right, that's the same spirit. As the scripture say, 2/3 of their father the devil. They following at the Esau. Operating on the left-hand side. And because of that, the Lord said this. All right, this goes into 2/3. This is Isaiah 65:11. That want to follow after Esau's system, the spirit that leaped out of Europe, out of the dragon. The 3 spirits leaped out like a frog, which goes into the agenda with the banking system, the religious system, and the monetary system. No, the banking system, the religious system, and the military, authoritative system. Well, 2/3 follow after their religions, which goes into their churches, their Islam, and they prepare feasts not only for their false gods and their idols, and the idols of these heathens. They prepare a table, a feast for Esau, so they can fill their belly, helping people Like the churches, you see, when all hell was breaking loose and they were doing the lockdowns, the churches was the main ones selling out, saying, "Come here and get it if you need to." Look at the grocery stores. All right, your managers at work, but you got to do it. You got to wear a mask. You got to do this, that, and that. See that? Isaiah 65:11. But ye are they that forsake Yahweh. See, they turn their back on the Lord. 2/3 of our people. That forget my holy mountain. See, that forget the altar in the temple of the Lord. That prepare a table for that troop. Now, a lot of people say this is talking about that prepare for martial law. You know, selling people out. That's true. But that troop right there is really an idol that they used to worship. All right? I think it was Baal Gad, which goes in the troop. So they prepare tables, they prepare feasts for those idols, and they forget about the Lord. All right? And that troop, that idol represents money and riches. So they preparing for that new world order. All right? And these churches manifest destiny all about that money. And that furnish the drink offering unto that number. And that word number goes into another idol that begins with an M. And it's like a less fortune, like money and less riches, either one. It says that furnish the drink offering unto that number. That number means many, which is a pagan idol. It goes into money. All right, so they selling out for the money. So anybody that's on that level, that's selling out gods, and that's selling out, following at the man, and that's selling out for these for money. All right, paganism. The Lord said, "What? Therefore will I number you to the sword, and ye shall all bow down to the slaughter." So they're gonna be numbered amongst the heathen, and they're gonna bow down and sell out to the slaughter. They're gonna get destroyed. As sheep led to the slaughter. All right? Because when I called, ye did not answer. And the Lord sent out his call through the men that's calling out in the streets and all over the internet. And they did not answer. But instead, they kept going down their dark path. You see them all over Facebook and Instagram throwing up the devil horns now. And, people celebrating these holidays, these folly days. And they still proud, man. Even though the mirth of the land is gone. And their sports and shit like that too. They still prideful. They still not turning back to the Lord. While the door of repentance is open. When I spake, ye did not hear, but did evil before mine eyes, and did choose that wherein I delighted not. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh power, behold, my servants shall eat. The Lord about to make a separation, and his servants are going to eat. His servants are the men of the Lord and the women and children that believe and that serve Yahweh and not man, that don't serve this world, that don't serve these false idols, or these idols. All idols are false anyway. But the ones that serve Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, he said, you're going to eat in that day of famine. He says, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. 2/3, man. Behold, my servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed, man. See that? 2/3 that's been going their path in these churches and these mosques. And even 2/3 that have mingled themselves in with Ezekiel 37, acting like Israelites, but they're teaching false doctrine and being immoral, disobedient. And even these doomsday preppers, they're going to get caught up in it. Even though they see it coming, they still ain't going to be able to do nothing about it. Why? Because they're not serving the Lord. They're serving their own pockets and their own agenda and their own fear. So he says, what? Behold, my servants shall sing for joy of heart, man. So we ain't going to be ashamed in that day. We ain't ashamed now. But they try to shame us. But the Lord is our judge. We are judged of no man. So my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. These people are going to be ashamed in that day. Behold, my servants shall sing for joy of heart. Man, wow. But ye shall cry for sorrow of heart. He said, what? These are beginning of sorrows. And those sorrows cause sorrow of heart, of the mind. And shall howl with vexation of spirit, crying out, lamenting. You know, hear somebody screeching and crying from pain and death. It's crazy, right? And it goes into the heathens too. It's going to be on them heathens as well. But the Lord said his servants are going to eat and be taken care of. All right, in the midst of this famine and everything that's coming. But the ones that prepare the table and feast, like with Christmas and Easter, and even with this agenda that they're pushing, these corporations, anybody that's a part of it, it's like, you got to do this, you got to do that. The Lord got something for them, man. The ones that's going to be at the door stopping the food, but the Lord said you ain't going to eat. All these military troops that's showing up, that's going to be enforcing it, saying you can't come in unless you got your QR code. Well, the Lord said they not going to eat. Just like with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, or Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, that Nebuchadnezzar tried to throw in the fire. When he threw them in there, he told the strongest, mighty men to throw them into the fire. I mean, put the adversity, affliction on them compared to today. But he told them to throw them into the fire, a little oven. And when they did it, he said, turn it up hotter. That's what they're doing now. The Lord said he chose us in the furnace of affliction. There's a difference. So he told these troops, these Nebuchadnezzar told them troops to throw these righteous men into the fire. And when they did it, the troops burned up. But not the righteous men. The Lord stepped in and helped them. Was with them in the fire. So today it's the same thing. He's going to be with us in the adversity, and he's going to put the adversity on these nations and on 2/3. All right? So let her speak a little bit more, man. Because, yeah, she spoke about the weather, the famine, the wars, the riots that's coming, the sedition. Let's get that. I'm going to let her speak a little bit more, though.
And consumers there should expect to see many more bare shelves, reduced selection, reduced inventory depth at retailers, and frequent purchases limit in place by retailers. For Americans, the grocery shopping experience in 2023 will increasingly resemble a police state with restricted entry, guarded entry, and exit points at some stores. Increased surveillance. Shopping experience in 2023 will increasingly resemble a police state with restricted entry, guarded entry, and exit points at some stores.
That's right. Restricted entry and guarded stations and exit points at stores. And of course, you can put that at cities. Let's get that. 2 Ezra 15 and 11. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm. So the Lord is bringing his elect back home with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm reaching all the way to us to pull us from out of the dark, out of the grave. And will smite Egypt with plagues as before. So America's that Egypt now, spiritual Egypt, according to Revelations 11 and 8. All right. So the Lord going to smite this place with plagues. All right, all the plagues I read in, I think, chapter 16. Famine, death, sword, and adversity. And will destroy all the land thereof. So ultimately, the Lord going to destroy this whole land from end to end. That's what's going to make it a lake of fire. Egypt shall mourn. So this place is mourning. It's going to be brought low. The Lord said, sit thou in the dust, O daughter of Babylon. All right. There's no throne. So Egypt shall mourn. worse than a third world country. And the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that Yahweh shall bring upon it. And the foundation represents the governments, these corporations, their food, everything that keeps people stable in this society is going to be smitten with the plagues and punishment that Yahweh shall bring upon it. And they that till the ground shall mourn, for their seeds shall fail through the blast and hail and fear, and with fearful constellations, man. All right, just like you got the lakes drying up all throughout America, and you got Scripture says there's going to be a drought upon her waters, and then you got the crops. You know, they're going out looking for crops or wheat instead of getting bad crops right now. Or they got people like Bill Gates buying up all the farms, switching it over to GMOs, or lack of seeds. They got to buy all the seeds from Monsanto or whatever company that's owned by these heathens. They shutting down all the farms, making it hard for them to survive. What happened in the last lockdown? You seen them pouring out milk, throwing out all the food. Well, there was nothing wrong with it. All right, you want the proof on that? Just look up Yuval Noah and Klaus Schwab. So, verse 14, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. All right, Ezra wasn't no joke. He knew, he said, whoa, this is going to be bad. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. Getting close. You know, when they saw that chariot over Vegas the other day, they think it's something good, but no, that's the judgment looking right at them. It says, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hand, man. What's that? Race wars, civil wars. You know, what do you call that? People got all these damn militias and these letter groups. That's all these different groups that's popping up, and militias and doomsday preppers. Don't tread on me, all these political groups, all of them going to be fighting against each other. You look at Trump when he was in office. You know, that goes into Revelation 13, the two horns, the Democrats versus Republicans, Christians versus Muslims, black versus white. It's going to be like that. Yeah, you seen that? Good understanding that. Watch that movie Warriors back in the day. Warriors. Come out and play. For there shall be, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands, man. There's going to be guns. For there shall be sedition among men, and that sedition, so that lets you know it's going to be mainly going to be a civil war. All right? Sedition, it means what? Conduct or speech inciting people to rebel against the authority or of a state or monarch. So causing people to rebel against the country or the government or the corporations. They're going to break into them stores. They ain't going to be sitting there not eating, and children need food and all that. But they prepare for that. That's how they're going to bring in martial law. That's how they're going to force everybody, according to Revelation 13:16. They're going to break their confidence. And they're going to leave them there talking to a damn robot. You mad? Well, talk to the robot. You go to a machine, and you go to the cabinet, try to get the juice or whatever out of there at the store, and it's going to be digitally locked. And you got any problem, you can press help. That's what I mean. For there shall be sedition among men. And that's how wars are usually fought, with men. And invading one another. They're going to be invading one another. Right? Look at that, man. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. They ain't gonna be worrying about the politicians, mayors, none of that of the cities. That's why you have riots going on. I forgot what that. I forgot where it's at. They got riot. They got um, riots going on right now. I forgot what city that is. Alabama somewhere out there. All right. Well, they just raiding the stores, especially when the snow kicked in. When it started snowing, they started rioting and raiding the stores. Food riots. And the course of their actions shall stand in their power. That's what they pulling away from the government, rebelling. So all this is gonna cause all hell to break loose once they try to force that Cbdc on everybody, or rations, or QR codes, and ultimately the MOTB. That's what their real goal is. A man shall desire to go into a city. See, she said restrictions, and shall not be able to. So you want to go travel, see somebody, or go into a city to get some food, you ain't gonna be able to. Trying to get away from some danger to go into another city, they ain't gonna let you. All right. For because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, and for great tribulation. That don't mean the bread ain't gonna exist. That mean they ain't gonna be letting people get it. Or they're gonna be destroying the bread, the wheat, and the crops. So people gonna be invading each other for the lack of food. Same people acting all cool with each other. All right, let's talk a little bit.
Increased surveillance and special in-store guards near sections of many stores. We anticipate increased carjackings of grocery, consumer driving home, increased robberies of groceries, customers who are taking out of store. Okay. All right. We've already seen this in some places. People has already been reporting that they have been in, just their basket, taking their groceries out to their car, and their groceries and purse or whatever has been hijacked,
Right.
stolen.
That's true, man. That's why I get groceries. I like to bring them in at night. So a lot of people can't see what you have. A lot of these women, they like to carry all these groceries in the house. And but if you're smart, you get your groceries and bring them in at night or certain times. A lot of people not looking because you never know who's hungry, man. Of course, you're willing to share it, but I'm just saying, some people don't want to ask; they want to take it. All right, so we got to move circumspect. But he said there's gonna be a lot of robberies. She said there's gonna be a lot of robberies. People get knocked over the head just for some chicken or some bread. Jake liked that chicken. Job 5:19. He shall deliver thee in 6 troubles. So by that time, the elect are going to have certain levels of power. All right? Deliverance is going to start with spiritual power and the angels giving charge, according to Psalms 91, over the elect. Yea, in 7, there shall no evil touch thee. So by the time the 7th trump, which is 7th trouble, which is the missiles, by the time that hits, that's not going to touch the elect at all. So it's going to be a build up to it. So the elect going to get power first. All right, it said we're going to eat in the midst of a famine. It says, in famine he shall redeem thee from death, meaning keep you from dying in the midst of the famine. And in war from the power of the sword. So somebody could run up and try to rob you, do whatever they want, but they ain't going to be able to do anything. Even 2/3, the scriptures say, in their heathenistic mindset, the heathen shall envy thee. 2/3 and these heathens, but they should be able to do nothing against thee. All right. So and he gonna deliver us from the power in war, from the power of the sword. What's that? The gun. And the gun cuts the flesh and destroys the body. which caused the spirit to separate from the body. But the Lord said the elect are not going to have to worry about that. That their weapons are going to have no power. Their drones, their explosions, their the other biometric warfare they're doing, gas, anything they can use, is not going to have any effect on the elect in that day. I ain't talking about now. It says, thou shalt be hid from the scourge of the tongue. So everybody will be able to say shit in that day. You know, the politicians, anybody, they put out lies and calling you terrorists, it ain't going to matter in that day. Neither shalt thou be afraid of the destruction when it cometh. So by that time, man, the elect confidence is going to be built up so much through the Lord giving them power that they ain't going to be worrying about the destruction, the missiles. At destruction, so at the destruction from the nuclear war and America being destroyed and around the world, so at destruction and famine, thou shalt laugh. That's all they're talking about right now, famine. And the Lord said we're going to laugh. Neither shalt thou be afraid of the beast of the field. All right? So the Lord going to give us those powers again. All right?
In many areas across American cities, grocery shoppers will arm up in advance of the shopping trip and carry concealed pistols as a means of self-defense. We will see shootings over food in 2023 and beyond. In addition, we anticipate more food thefts at the wholesale level, organized wholesale, theft rings targeting meat plants, food distributors, and food manufacturers. Thank you. Think of this as theft by pallet, involving forklifts and heavy trucks. Your experience will largely depend on where you live,
right,
where the grocery police state scenario will unfold aggressively in blue cities, characterized by widespread theft, violence, and defunding of police, rural grocery chains, and likely not to see chaos. The rule of law is stronger in rural countries and states across America, and the rapid expansion in a longer article, but again, you need to read it because it's really important. Will people shoot each other over food in 2023? We think so, yes.
Yes,
But most
they will. He said they're going to be evading one another for the lack of bread. All right, let me end this right here, man. He said people be shooting each other. Yes, they will. You shoot each other with a quarter. All right, over $1. Over a bet, over an argument, people kill each other. Over a woman. So they damn sure gonna kill each other over food. Especially people that's not used to it. It's gonna be like Hunger Games, literally. Isaiah 41:14. Fear not. See, we're not supposed to fear though. Thou worm Jacob. See, we're helpless right now, as you can see. But through Yahweh Shem Yahushua, we have help and we have hope. And we have power. But without him, we just worms. Worms for the prey, for the predators to take. You know, strange fruit for the crows to pluck. Other than that, we need help. Fear not, thou worm Jacob, and ye men of Israel, I will help thee, saith Yahweh, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. All right? So, yeah, man, I'm going to end it there. Verse 15. Behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument having teeth. And where teeth represents power. So we're going to be new, meaning refreshed, sharp threshing instruments to thresh and destroy the wicked. You can call us fishers, you can call them to be hunters. Thresh the mountains, the governments, and beat them small, and shalt make the hills as chaff. Thou shalt fan them, and the wind shall carry them away, and the whirlwind shall scatter them. Ultimately, the Lord is going to defend us with the missiles as well. And thou shalt rejoice in Yahweh, and show glory in the Holy One of Israel. He's saying it's coming. We're going to give him glory because this is his time to shine right now. When all hell breaking loose, the Lord going to show that light in the midst of darkness. All right, in the midst of famine and riots and robberies and against the sword, against the famine, against the destruction to come and the scourge of the tongue. All right, so hey man, this is that time. Yahweh Ratazah, these prophecies come to pass this year, like Apostle Tahar coined it, the year that the hopeful, all the prophecies, the hopeful year that all the prophecies will come to pass.